we go.
There he is. What's up, dude? I love the jacket. Look at that shit.
Oh yeah, my blazer.
I love it, man. It's super.
Yeah. How's it going,
dude? I'm doing well. How are you, man?
Super duper.
That's fucking rad, man. I'm glad for hooking up. I mean, thank you for hooking up.
Yeah. Are we recording?
Yeah. I'm just gonna hit record. We'll edit the shit out of it. I mean.
Oh yeah, no worries. I don't even care if you do.
I don't even know. I mean, I'm making it up as I go, man. Totally. Here's to you, man.
Yeah. What are you drinking?
Straight whiskey.
Cool. I just got water. What's that Freemason thing? What's that? Oh
yeah. So that's a apron. That's a Masonic apron. And so I had this thing after I became a Freemason. I go to like flea markets, garage sales all the time, and I would see you'd see like memorabilia and like Masonic stuff. I would just buy it. So like the crazy part about this is like one of the things with the Freemasons, you're supposed to be buried with this.
What?
Yeah. So somebody died and didn't get buried with this, which is not cool, right? So it's kind of a big deal. I mean, you're supposed to be like, one of the big things is when you become a Mason, they tell you to make sure you tell your family, whoever's going to know where you're at, that where your apron is, because it has to be, buried with you. So somebody messed up.
So cool.
Yeah, but it was in a shop, and I was like, man, I just can't, go out like let that hang in there. So I bought it, and the lady is just a random another random find. I had it like at a garage sale. Yeah. It was it was the white lady, man, and I don't know, for some reason I just bought it because I was like, wow, it's a bust of a white lady. I can't, let it go. And then I was like, then COVID happened and everything else happened, and I was like, she needs a mask, and perfect. These two things work out well. so I put it in the background. I was like, that's kind of cool. Let's let it hang out. But dude, I mean, you got the whole collection behind you. You got like all your books. You got the whole TTSA.
Yeah, I think I'm missing like one or two. I don't have the Who Stole My Underwear one.
I don't have that either, though. I was just like, that's cool. I don't think I need that one. I just read my daughter the Alien on Christmas Eve book, though.
Is that cool?
Yeah, that's cool. It's glow in the dark. Every page is glow in the dark. It's pretty rad. It's a kid's book. I think it's called The Lonely Astronaut. That's what it's called. The Lonely Astronaut on Christmas Eve. Yeah. Yeah. And it was, so I had my daughter, and I was like, that'd be cool. So I read it to her. She thinks it's cool. It just sucks though, because it's a book, and it's got, I just don't understand the premise of like every single page being in glow in the dark, because it'll never work. Even like a huge flashlight, I'm just like shining it on the page, and I'm like, look, and like you turn the page and it's not working again. It's like, maybe black light. I think that'd be the best thing to do. Probably just put a black light on. The only way it would work. Yeah. But it's a cool idea. It's a whole glow in the dark book. Hide whatever you want. It's just the whole book is about an astronaut. It's about aliens flying over the moon, seeing a guy on the moon, lonely. So they come in, they're like, let's cheer him up. And they're like, well, maybe we'll just buy him some stuff. And they're like, nah, like, well, let's just buy him, give him the whole world. Or we'll give him a dog. We'll give him, this stuff, money, big bags of money. And they're like, no. And the guy's still bummed out. And it's just this bummed out astronaut. And then finally they go up and they just give him a big hug. And then the astronaut's happy. And then that's how the book ends.
Interesting. Did DeLong write that, or someone else?
Yeah. No, actually it was him. Yeah. And it rhymes, believe it or not.
It rhymes?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it's cool. I mean, it's fun. It's a fun thing.
Wonder what he's up to.
I don't know, man. I don't know.
He doesn't seem too active in the UFO stuff anymore.
No, I know. I think, it's weird, man. I think that there's been a pattern of being quiet, I mean, there's like this, I definitely think there's like this whole, like somebody had a whiteboard, this whole thing where it's like, all right, December 17, we're going to drop this New York Times thing. Like 6 months later, like I think there's a cadence. I haven't gone back, but I guarantee if we go back and look, there's probably like this.
For sure.
You know what I mean? Like let it marinate, and then just dump something else, and then all these congruent things. I know we shot that movie, or that, I don't know if it's a movie or a TV show.
I think it's a full-length movie. I might be wrong. I think it's supposed to be kind of like that Strange Times thing. Did you read that one?
No, I didn't read that one. I didn't. Did you?
Yeah, I read it in like a couple hours. It's super short, like 100 pages or something.
Oh, really?
It's kind of like, you've seen Stranger Things, right?
Yeah.
It's basically pretty much like that, but the kids are like ghost hunters.
Oh, okay.
But it's supposed to tie into like the phenomenon type stuff, I think.
That's cool.
It's called The Ghost and the Girl.
Okay. Is it entertaining at least? I mean, is it like an
Yeah,
entertaining?
yeah, it's actually pretty funny, surprisingly.
That's cool.
There's a lot of Tom DeLonge jokes in there.
So he actually wrote it? He didn't have somebody ghostwrite it for him?
No, I think someone did write it, but
okay.
I don't know. It just seems like a bunch of stuff he would say.
A bunch of dick jokes and
yeah.
Dude, that's hilarious. I always wondered about that because, you know, you look at the stuff and it's like, you know, Tom DeLonge, and then it's like AJ Hartley and Tom DeLonge and Peter Levenda. And I've read Peter Levenda's books before Tom DeLonge. So I'm like, do you think Tom DeLonge sitting there going, yeah, and then write about, you know, like,
some people say that he's just like feeding ideas kind of, and telling them kind of, or not telling them what to write, but like kind of like pointing them in certain directions. Maybe, I don't know.
It'd be kind of cool to see that whole creative process where if he's just like, yeah, like you said, just going, yeah, you got to talk about, like, so for the secret machines, you got to talk about the disc, and, you know, and I've heard some of those interviews they did with like AJ Hartley and him when they were talking about it, like AJ Hartley's doing all this research and he went and talked to the pilot of, you know, actual pilot of somebody who pilots one of those planes, and, you know, like trying to, you know, get that whole thing down, you know, and is Tom just sitting there going, yeah, the dude's in a plane, and then like,
I don't know.
And then it like leaves AJ Hartley going, I got to figure all this shit out, man. Like,
I know.
I got to make it work. It's just not going to happen.
I want to eventually find out if like other members of TTSA like support the books, at least the fiction ones.
Yeah.
The nonfiction ones would be important too.
Oh yeah.
Back those up, you know?
You mean like back them up, or like are a part of the creative process of like writing and like the content?
Or just like acknowledging like the stuff that's in them is like truth or something. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, like if you're gonna get Hal to come out and say, yeah, the way that thing's described is, you know,
because they say some like pretty crazy stuff, especially in the second book.
Yeah,
like whole consciousness stuff. Like,
the tablet thing. I keep coming back to the tablet thing, man, and like through the Masonic stuff, and then, you know, the Rosicrucian things and all other stuff, and, you know, it's like the Emerald tablet of Thoth, you know, or Toth, or however you pronounce it, you know, and Hermes, basically Hermes Trismegistus, you know, their Emerald tablet. Have you seen that thing? The Emerald tablet that has. Yeah, and I'm like, I wonder if it's the Emerald tablet that they got in there, you know, like, because that whole thing in the book is like, you know, like it enhances the power, like, and at the, you know, at the end of it, spoiler alert, I guess if you haven't read it, too bad, but you know, like, where it's kind of like, you know, whatever the entities were like, we gave this to you as a tool to use to, like, you know, basically fight the swarm or whatever, or you know, help humanity. And I'm like, kind of is parallel to the whole Emerald tablet thing. So I don't know if that's it or not. I mean, it could be anything really, artifacts. And then, you know, who knows? Then you got Grant Cameron. I don't know if you listen to like Grant Cameron stuff at all, if you get into him, but Grant Cameron's talking about portals and shit, like finding like devices and portals, you know, and like opening up portals. And
he like went off the deep end a few years ago. I mean, like in a positive way. Like,
yeah, no, I agree
about just like normal government disclosure stuff, and now he's just like on the portals and like,
dude. And you know what, I think I can probably place it, man, and this is just my 2 cents. I mean, I don't know, like, I grew up with the shit though, you know, like, so you know, I haven't been like fully on until like COVID, you know. That's when like my switch got turned on, actually, that and because of the couple experiences I had leading up to it. But yeah, I think that like he definitely had that experience. Have you ever heard him talk about his experience at Chris Bledsoe's house with the dog?
Maybe a very long time ago.
It was like a dog like was just like bleed, like basically his throat was cut and his dog was just bleeding, and it ran past him and his legs all full of blood. Like Grant Cameron comes to hang out with Bledsoe's house, and the family dog. You didn't hear about this one?
No.
As this dog runs past Grant Cameron and like blood all over his jeans, right? And like this dog just basically falls out and starts bleeding to death on the floor, like outside, right in front of him and Chris is just crying. It's just like the most horrific scene, and Chris is on, you know, holding his dog, and like the dog just wound heals up, dog snaps out of it, there's puddles of blood everywhere, the dog snaps out of it, is like whoop, takes off, and Grant Cameron's like like, what the fuck? And he was there to take pictures of the tree that was on fire, you know, the burning tree and all that whole story. And that happens to him. And I think that like maybe like, you know, I think that, I don't know, man, like, I don't know, have you had like a crazy UFO experience? I mean, I know we talked about the dude, but have you seen anything in the sky?
Yeah, so UFOs, when I was a little kid, I remember this, but only like a very small detail.
Yeah.
But this is just the first UFO type thing I saw. So me and my brother were in the back of, I think, my mom's car. We were like 5 years old, I think, and or I was at least 5 years old. My brother's older than me. But anyways, we were in the back seat of her car, and we were just like looking out the window, and all I can remember is like a bunch of red and blue lights, like flying like overhead us, like right behind the sky. Or the sky's right behind it, right? And it just like right next to us, and it was really low to the ground. But I just like knew. I can still remember the feeling, like it wasn't like something from here.
Was your
At least
brother
that's what I
like? Was your
thought.
brother into? I mean, you guys both were on the same wavelength as far as like the same feeling.
Yeah, yeah. I've never asked him about it though.
Really?
At least like recently, since we were kids. But I wonder if he remembers.
Dude, yeah,
But
I'm sure he does. That kind of shit doesn't change you, man. I mean, doesn't leave you really, you know?
yeah. And then another thing I saw in the sky. This was when I was like 18 or 19 years old. I got out of my friend's car with two of my friends. We just parked in front of his house, and all of a sudden, we all just looked straight up to the sky, all at the same time for some reason. And there was a military base nearby. I forget what it's called. Might be called Payne Field, somewhere in Washington, like north of Seattle a little bit.
Cool.
But we saw this orange orb just like shoot from like, it looked like ground level behind like a forest in front of us. And this orange orb just went like diagonally into the sky, like super fast. And like it went like straight up into like what looked like space. And we're all just like, oh, crazy.
Wow.
Yeah.
Dude,
We
so
didn't really.
that's
Go
nuts.
ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, man, I was talking to another buddy, Jean-Luc, the other like a couple nights ago, and you know, I don't know if you know Project Unity, Jay, you know, from Project Unity, his orange orb story and shit. Like, I saw the same thing with my wife like two years ago now, and it was like we were just driving over the river, and like it was just a bunch. It was like a whole bunch of those orange orbs, and there was like one here, and then they were doing like this, you know, like all over the place, and like it was like sleeting, raining sideways. And it was like it was like it was like I think it was Thanksgiving, because I had like way too much whiskey. So my wife was driving. She hates driving in the rain. She's just pissed and just driving. I'm like, look, stop the car. She's like, no. And I'm like, stop the fucking car. Like, she's like, no. And she's like, she still to this day will deny it. She'll just like, I didn't see it. She was like, no, I didn't see it. I'm like, you saw it. She's like, but she won't. She just says she probably just won't say it to me. And I'm like, it was just you and I, and she was like, nah, because she just doesn't want to believe it was real. You know, but I think, but the thing that was funny, man, I said this to Jean-Luc the other night, was that I feel like the orange orbs is like the gateway drug for for the UFO, for the phenomenon, man, because everybody sees like an orange orb first, and then after that, everything gets weird. Maybe, that's like.
Actually, I experienced some weird paranormal stuff before I saw that orange orb. So maybe I experienced stuff before that like.
Well, there you go.
That I don't know, but
yeah.
Another UFO I saw was actually right before I moved to Texas, like 2 or 3 years ago.
Yeah.
I was driving down to my mom's house to say goodbye to her from Seattle, and my mom lives at the base of Mount Rainier.
Okay.
Like next to what's that town called? Mineral or Elby, around there. It's in Washington if you look it up. But she lives like right on the lake at the bottom of the mountain. It's really beautiful. But I was driving from Puyallup south down to Mount Rainier, and it's pretty much just a straight shot down this huge hill that it's called South Hill. Also is another city like south of Puyallup, because it's basically just like a giant hill.
Right, so, straight down, yeah.
Yeah, I was just driving straight for a good 30 whole minutes, and there was this freaking like constellation in the sky, like pretty low to the ground. And it was slowly traveling towards Mount Rainier. And I honestly like don't even know how to describe what it looked like. But it was red and blue lights again, but they were blinking all in like different patterns. And like after watching the pattern for a while, it looked like it was 3 different crafts or something. And like different parts of them were connected. I don't even know how to describe it, but I watched like this contraption looking thing, I don't even know, travel from like South Hill area, like all the way down across to Mount Rainier, and I watched it like get close to the mountain, and then it just went out of my view. But I was trailing it for like 45 minutes, dude.
Wow.
It's crazy. And I used to live at my mom's house too for like a year or something down by the river.
Yeah.
And there was always like unmarked military vehicles like going to and from the mountain and shit. Like,
dude,
there's something going on there.
With water, man. I think there's water, there's the mountains, the volcanoes, like all of that shit, man. I think there's so much going on that, you know, that fuck, we don't even know idea what's going on. But dude, I mean, I don't know how much you want to get into like your stuff at all, but man, some of the stuff you've been telling me is fucking outrageous. It's just insane, man. And I love it. I just think that it's like, you should tell it, man, because it's just like the most amazing. Like you can't make that shit up. I mean, honestly, you can't. You just can't do it.
Yeah, and I've talked to my friend Justin about this. I should probably contact him again. But every time I'm like, "Hey, do you remember that time at the skate park?" And he's like, "Oh my god, dude!" Like in all caps, he'll send me a text, like, and he's not into UFO stuff at all,
dude. Yeah, I mean, that's just like around. So you were skateboarding, right? I mean, you want to? Okay, so like, how old are you now? I mean, I'm just saying,
I'm 26 right now.
Okay. Cool.
And this was when this was in 2012.
Okay.
So around like 7 or 8 years ago.
Cool.
Right.
All right. Yeah.
One sec.
No, you're fine. Cheers.
So me and my friend Justin were the only ones left at the skate park. It was about to close. It was like 10 or 11 at night. I don't remember when it closes. And this was at the Mill Creek Skate Park in Mill Creek, Washington. It's this little suburb like 30 minutes north of Seattle. And all of a sudden, I'm just like chilling, sitting on the ledge at the entrance of the skate park, kind of, or close to the entrance. And I'm just watching my friend Justin skate. And all of a sudden, this old guy walks into the entrance of the skate park with walking a little Pomeranian dog.
So what does this dude look like? Give me like a visual of this dude. Is it like an old dude like me? Is it like an old dude? You know what I mean? Like an old guy, like a 90-year-old dude, like a 100-year-old guy, like a.
No, I would say like 60 to like late 70s.
Okay.
Nothing older than like late 70s.
Okay.
And
somewhere in there, he was still spry enough to be kind of moving around, right? Like.
Yeah. And he looked like totally normal. He looked pretty wealthy. Like Mill Creek is like a pretty like ritzy area. And there's like really nice houses there, and the skate park.
So he had like a nice clothes, like nice.
He was wearing a Charlie Sheen shirt, the bowler shirts.
Really?
Is that what you call them?
What the
like the pinstripes?
Oh, okay.
Like the collared short sleeve shirts.
I gotcha. Okay.
And he was wearing like cargo shorts, but you could tell like it was fancy like attire.
Okay, gotcha.
But he was just super friendly. He sat down right next to me. I thought it was kind of weird at first, but
because you were just hanging out like on a bench or something, or like
just like a concrete ledge.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like a sitting area kind of by the entrance to the skate park.
Okay.
And he's really nice. He just started like chit-chatting it up with me, just talking about like whatever. And all of a sudden,
and your buddy's like still skating and stuff at this time?
Yeah. And like after a while, Justin comes and like starts to talk with us because he's like, who's this guy? And
you're over like chatting him up, right?
Yeah, when we were talking for like 2 hours or something like that.
Wow.
3 hours.
So like it's getting dark. So now it went from like, because they probably close it dark, right? The skate park is probably just
actually the officer, I think his name was Officer Harris. I might be wrong.
Wow.
The guy who locks the skate park up every night. I think he didn't come for some reason. And like that's why we were there longer.
Weird.
The memories are all like kind of.
Oh no, that's cool. So usually there was a cop that showed up and would lock the doors. It would just like kick everybody out.
I used to know him. Like he's a pretty cool guy.
Cool.
But so anyways, this old guy that came to the skate park. I wish I remember his name or like got some information.
He told you his name though, right? He did.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he did.
Yeah.
But maybe he didn't. I don't remember. But yeah, fuck. This story just sounds so sketchy.
Dude,
Everyone thinks I'm bullshitting.
No, it's a thing, man. Go for it, dude.
So he starts talking about like some really like woo-woo stuff, like because I asked him about UFOs or something, because he started talking to me about like his government involvement. Oh yeah, he was telling me about that first. So he was telling me how he was a retired dude from the CIA, and he just told me this out of nowhere, kind of. And at first, I was like, "Is this dude like one of those like dudes who comes out of the military? He's like all into conspiracies and stuff, you know?" Because
Right.
I've met a lot of those guys. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. Yeah. I've had a couple of them just like reach out and like just complete, like this dude yesterday just completely blew me up on Twitter and was just like, "You don't know what you're talking about. I'm going to remote view you. I'm going to find out where you live." And like,
What?
I'm like, dude, what the fuck? And he's just like, yeah,
so
you know,
weird.
it was just like, he has like a Patreon. He was trying to like get people to like give him money to have like blessings. And he was just like rolling around a cup on the desk going, "I can control it with my mind." And I'm like, dude, I gotta, I'm sorry, man. But yeah, no, I know what you're talking about. Like, yes. Okay. Yeah.
That's weird.
Yeah. Yeah. I was like the only dude so far that I've been like,
I think I remember like it seemed like he wanted to just tell me about his career or something. He just wanted someone to talk to. I don't even know. But he started talking to me about how he was a natural disaster specialist.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember that's like the phrase he used or something very similar at least. And he was telling me how he like specifically predicted wildfires from just like happening on their own.
Wow.
And he was telling me like specific incidents that he's like a part of that like he couldn't prevent, and he had to like go and help out like on the scene, like huge wildfires and stuff like that. But at the time I didn't know what remote viewing was really.
Mm-hmm.
Before I really learned all that stuff. But
right,
talking about remote viewing and like that meditation type stuff, right? That's what remote viewing is. I actually haven't read that much on it.
It's
you like meditate and like see different like points.
Well,
like on the planet.
Now, I mean, I guess you could kind of classify it as a type of meditation. It's more like a tapping into your subconscious to bring in all the information that's there, but doing it in a way that you kind of get out of your mindset of that I'm going to figure this out and this is what's going to happen. It's more like you kind of concentrate on, letting it all come to you, and just kind of you're basically, there's a protocol and you write it all down, and you're just basically doing, what's the first thing that comes to you? It's like, oh, mountains, and you draw mountains, and it's kind of, so it's not really like I'm going to sit here and do a meditation. I think the Ed Dames was one of the guys that was one of the instructors in the military, and he had a course that it was one of those things where you can buy, and I got one of those things and like did it. And so the way they did it is like they created it in such a way that anything like the Army, right? They structured it into like here's a form, you fill out this form, you do this, and you go. But it was all keep your eyes open, stay in a room with no fans, like nothing to distract you, and it was really regimented. It's because I think have you ever seen that movie? It's on Netflix, and it's Russell Targ and Hal Puthoff. Dude, totally spend the time and watch. It's called Third Eye Spies. That'll give you the whole, it's called Third Eye Spies. It's on, I think it's on all the streaming stuff, right? Like, I think it's for sure on Amazon, or Netflix or something like that. But basically Russell Targ, and I could be completely wrong in paraphrasing, but Russell Targ was like, I'm just gonna come out with it. And his son is like an attorney now in DC or something. And like, it was still classified. And Russell Targ is older now. I think he's, I don't know, pushing 80, or maybe even more. And he's like, fuck it, if they put me in jail, I'm just going to do it. And his son like just jumped through a billion hoops in Washington to get it declassified, because he was like, I'm making this movie anyway, it's my whole life's work, I'm going to do it, and he did it. And that's a great movie. It's called Third Eye Spies. I highly recommend that. But that kind of lays out the whole thing on how it is. So like, what they kind of did is just basically like, this is real. We can prove it to you, because we could take like 100 grunts, like dudes that are just out of boot camp, and we can put them in a room and we can show them how to do this, and everybody can do it. And they're like, one of the head guys is like, yeah, right, dude, this is going to happen. So they put the head guy in there, just like, make him do it. And the guy did it. And it was like, oh shit, this is real. And that's kind of where they kept going with it, and they kept going the program, and they kept, getting funded and stuff like that. And, but like I think, I could be paraphrasing, I could be making this up. This could be part of it too, but just like Michael Jordan's like the best basketball player, like you and I can go play basketball and I can shoot some hoops and do a layup or something. Right. But Michael Jordan's like amazing at it. Right. Like, So there's people that are just amazing at like remote viewing. They just, you kind of give them the framework, and they're just like superstars. Right. And there's other people, basically everybody can do it, but there's people that have like are completely gifted at it, just like anything else, right? Just like music or whatever. So there's people that are just been like complete rock stars in the whole remote viewing field that can just do like specific, like, and you look at some of the stuff that's declassified is amazing. It's like somebody has like, oh, they want you to remote view a Russian ICBM site, and this guy like literally draws his thing, right?
That's
and then they take like a satellite picture, and it's like the same thing, and it's like, how does that happen, you know? And we're like, I draw like 4 lines and like supposed to be the Empire State Building, you know, like, or whatever. But I mean, so it's a thing. It's just like a learned thing, and the more you do it, the more you practice, the better you get. But yeah, and I don't say it's meditation because they tell you to keep your eyes open, not keep your eyes closed because of that thing. But I don't know. I guess you can meditate with your eyes open too. I don't know.
My cousin sleeps with his eyes open. It's weird.
Like all the time?
Yeah.
Wow.
He used to sleep over at my house, and he'd just be like
in the corner.
Yeah.
Cats sleep with their eyes open too.
Cats sleep with their eyes open?
I don't know. That was a saying, something like that. Cats sleep with their eyes. I don't know.
Back to this dude.
Sorry, there was a big long tirade, man. But
no, it's cool.
So this dude, he didn't say anything about remote viewing, though, did he?
He did.
He did. Oh, he did.
At the time, like I didn't really know what it was, so I was just like, like cool, and I kind of voided it out, not like on purpose, but kind of just forgot about it. But he was going into detail on that, like how he would like draw pictures of fires and all that stuff.
Wow.
Seriously. And then like after that, he was talking about how there's a huge disaster on the way, and he like started to talk about like the big one. Have you ever heard of like
like a San Andreas? Yeah.
And that was like the first rabbit hole I ever went down, like all the research on that when I was like really young, because it's been overdue for like a few decades now, I think, like 20 years or something. But I was always paranoid about that when I was living up there. And every time there was like a few earthquakes around the Puget Sound, I would freak out and freaked out that day. Yeah. And he started talking about that impending like earthquake, right?
Yeah.
And he's like, oh yeah, like a bunch of like remote viewers have like predicted like we know it's coming soon, but don't know exactly when. Like it's hard to figure out, but like it's coming. And he was like very specific about it. And like I remember like the science of it that he was like telling us. It came out in the news like a year or two later when they started to like write huge articles on it. And I think he like called it the big one before I like first saw it, like be called the big one in the news and stuff like that.
Right.
But he was saying that everything like west of I-5, like from Canada down to Mexico, is going to be completely like underwater and decimated.
Whoa.
And he's like saying some like super like scary stuff. And he's like, you guys need to be at least like in Vancouver, Spokane, Washington, which is like over east. He's like, that's like the clear zone, like everyone's thinking. So like, you need to get out of here like as soon as you can, basically. And he didn't like give us like a time frame or anything, but he's just saying like, oh yeah, it's coming. And
like in all seriousness, he wasn't messing around. He was like being serious about it, right? Like
and like this guy was really respectable. Like it was almost like weird. It was weird, but I don't even know how to describe it. Like he wasn't like nuts or anything like that. Like he knew what he was talking about. It was like really well mannered and well spoken. But I then asked him about UFOs because I've always been into UFOs, and I was like, "Oh, you ever seen UFOs? Like being in the CIA?" And he's like, "Oh yeah." And I don't think I told you this part, but there was this bit about, or he was going on for a bit about how the U.S. government is in contact with ET presence, and he says like it's basically like I think what he was describing is like it's just like some giant intelligence, and it's almost like some AI computer basically interacting with us. That's all I remember him talking about. Whoa. But he said he first saw a UFO when he was a little kid at his grandparents' house, like somewhere in the Middle East, or like in the middle of America. I mean, Midwest. Sorry.
Yeah. No. I get it. Yeah.
And he looked up one day, and they live in the middle of nowhere, he said, and he looked right above him, and he said there was a flying saucer, like typical like flying saucer shape. And he said it was like Independence Day size big, and it was just like floating above him and his grandparents for like a whole hour or something like that. And he said they were all just like staring at it. But yeah, so I think that's about like all the kind of stuff we talked about, maybe some other things. But after our talk, this was going on for like 2 or 3 hours. I was like so moved by this. And I was like, wow, like this was like the first conversation I've had with like someone who hasn't like written me off or like was like, oh, whatever, you know, like he actually wanted to like talk about this stuff. And I was so like, wow, like overwhelmed. And I was like, I told him, I was like, I feel like you came here for like a reason to tell me this stuff or something. Like, this is awesome.
Yeah.
And he just like smiled and was like, why else would an old guy like me be walking his little dog at midnight to come talk to 2 kids at the skate park about this stuff? And he was smiling, and I looked back at my friend. The whole time we were talking, he was like a few feet behind me, my friend Justin. And I looked back over like this to look at him for a few seconds. And my back was turned for probably like 5-10 seconds. And I was looking at him like, holy shit, like, what? This is weird. And right when I looked back, the dude was just gone. Like, I didn't see him vanish from thin air or anything, but like him and his dog were just gone. And I looked back at Justin. We were just like, our jaws were on the floor, like, what? And we were like, where did he go? And we circled around the whole skate park. And I can show you a photo of that skate park. It's like sunken into the ground, and there's a whole gated perimeter around it. And we like circled the whole perimeter a few times. And we were like, where did that guy go?
There's like nowhere for him to just disappear to like that. It's not like you could just step away.
We were kind of close to the entrance, maybe like 10, 15 feet, but
not for an old guy and a dog to like just shuffle to a car and then disappear though, right?
Yeah. And I just think that like maybe that's a possibility based on like the way he said that. He's like, oh, why else would I come here? Like, I don't know.
Dude,
some weird stuff.
Dude, that's rad. I mean,
maybe it was maybe he just like got out of there and was messing with us, or maybe it's my mind, but I don't know.
Dude, I don't know. That's great. I mean, but then it probably spurred you on to more things, right? I mean, it didn't stop you from getting involved in any of this stuff. I mean, probably just
honestly, like every time something weird happens to me, I tend to let it go and just let it linger in the background instead of like really like freaking out about it or overanalyzing it or trying to like confirm it, because being that like UFO dude or whatever, you know, like I don't want to like at first be like, oh, this is what it was, and like seem crazy at first. So I kind of just like leave it up in the air to hang out, you know? I don't know if that makes sense.
No. I get it, man. I mean, there's a lot of time. I mean, honestly, I grew up just thinking it was real just because my dad had experiences and stuff. And I didn't have one personally until, like I said, past few years. But honestly, when you have that experience, it's kind of like, oh yeah, it's real. And after that, I kind of really don't give a shit anymore what people think, if they don't think it's real or not, because it was real. It was real to me anyway, whatever it was. If it was, whatever it was, I can't tell you what it is, but it was real to me. And honestly, to be completely honest, was before, like 80s, 90s, I don't know about the 2000s, but maybe a little bit in there, but there were some people that would like make people disappear, or you'd have an accident. Like, you would have an accident, you get in a car accident, you'd have a heart attack, you fall down some stairs, things like that. When people started speaking out, people had evidence of things, the Men in Black thing is probably real. I mean, I don't know. Chris Mellon came, one of the last interviews Chris Mellon had, he was like, yeah, those guys probably work for me.
What?
Yeah.
No way. I didn't hear that. What the hell?
Yeah, I'll have to pull it out, man. If I find it, I'll dump it in here. But like, basically, it was like, yeah, I had some guys that, they would show up and get the evidence or find out the information and stuff. So there was a time there where it was like, man, you can't mess around. You can't talk about this shit. You can't go out there and talk about it. But then, honestly, when DeLong started coming out with his stuff, and I was like, into that and getting into the whole TTSA, and everything there. And then when the New York Times came out, I was like, yeah, it's fair game, man. Screw it. They're going to come get me. They're going to come get me.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm never going to kill myself. Like, there's not going to be kitty porn on any of my shit. Like, whatever, all that shit's planted, right? Like, none of that shit's, I mean, like, I'm not going to fall down some stairs and die. Like, I'm not, you know what I mean? Like, if they're going to get me, they're going to get me. But I mean, I'm not saying anything that most of everybody else in the world isn't thinking or saying anyway. But like I said, 10 years ago, even 5 years, I mean, I don't know. I mean, there were some people like actually got hurt and, threatened or disappeared. So that's what kept me from coming out, but then I had these experiences that have happened and I was like, fuck it, people got to know. I mean,
yeah, I've been into this stuff since I was really little, like elementary school. I was like checking out books, and before like this New York Times thing, I was like always trying to talk about this with people. Like everyone like knows me as like that dude. And, like,
yeah, I'm that guy too.
It's ruined a lot of like friendships and stuff,
Yeah.
And yeah.
Yeah, dude, I'm right there with you.
Like it's overbearing. Like even my girlfriend gets like fed up with it sometimes.
My wife is pissed. I'm down here right now.
Yeah. But I forgot what I was talking about.
Oh no, I mean it's just you've been into it forever, man. You just been, you weren't scared of talking about it. I mean, there was not that you didn't have that oh no, I was premonition of fear, right? You weren't scared about it.
I was scared a little bit. Like at times I was like, oh, I wonder if I don't know if I was like overanalyzing stuff, but I was like, oh, I wonder if I post this document, like I'm gonna get kidnapped or something. But this was like back in like 2010 or something.
Yeah.
But you always hear those stories of like stuff happening.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's that one YouTuber, Secure Team. I don't know if that's fake.
Yeah, I don't know about that. If he did just get wasted and wreck his car, I don't know.
I was reading it might be like some kind of hoax, or he was up to like something. I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I mean, I've heard just weird stuff. Like the big one was the guy who did the Mark McCandlish story. The guy who did that. Have you seen the Mark McCandlish story? The documentary about the ARV, the alien reproduction vehicle.
No.
Oh man. So that.
There's probably a ton of shit I haven't seen.
No, that's cool, man. No, to get into that ARV, alien reproduction vehicle, Mark McCandlish story. The guy who did that, and forgive me, I don't remember his name right now. But the guy who wrote and directed and filmed that, ending up contracting a rare form of cancer and 3 months later dying.
Weird.
And it's a great documentary. It still came out. Like I it's out there. You can just watch it on YouTube. It's called I think it's called the Mark McCandlish story. I think it's called, ARV. So alien reproduction vehicle, but it's a great story. But the guy who did that, healthy dude, like, early, he was under 40, under 30 in college. I think he was doing it, I'm not saying it. People get rare forms of cancer die all the time, but I mean, just, it's just,
I don't doubt it.
No, I mean, it's weird
I bet
stuff.
they've killed people off before.
What's that?
I bet they've killed people off before.
Oh, yeah. I think there's probably been a lot of that before. I mean, I think that, probably now it's not much. I mean, think about Bob Lazar, man. You go back to Bob Lazar, and Bob Lazar, like his whole impetus for coming out was like, I don't want to die. Like they're going to off me because they're not calling me back. All the shit's going on. He didn't know his wife is having an affair. I have this job that I love. I'm trying to figure this shit out. I learned all this weird stuff that's going on, and they've threatened me for all this shit. I have weird shit going on all the time. They're tailing me. They're like doing all this stuff. I'm going to die. Fuck it. If I come out and if I'm in the public and I'm out there all the time and something happens to me, then there's just proof, right? There's just like,
yeah,
there it is, and there's all those dead man drop kind of scenarios too, where like, you don't put the code in through 2 days or something and some kind of thing, then all the files get sent out to everybody, and like some people say that's what that Stephen Greer has, right? That Stephen Greer has some kind of dead man drop where, all that shit. And like, I mean, I don't know if it's true. I mean, I don't know. I'm in information security. That's what I do for a living. And I've heard from a couple different sources that's what Snowden has, and that's the only reason Snowden's still alive is that he's got dead man drops where he wrote his own encryption, he's got his own algorithm, and if he doesn't put those keys in every 24 hours or something, that shit goes live. So I don't know. I mean,
yeah,
speculation, right? Could
that's
be
nuts.
Yeah, but I mean, it could be one of those things where you just like you're basically guaranteeing your life or your freedom or something, right? And I didn't want to ever get to that point. I mean, I'm not saying I'm worthy enough to be having somebody come after me, but shit, man. I mean, you know, the government's done a lot shittier for a lot less. So I, you know, hedge my bets. But you know, I said, fuck it, why not?
You know, in the Secret Machine books, I always bring this up.
No.
There's that retirement home where all the people associated with like Roswell or what's it called? Paperclip?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Operation Paperclip. Yeah.
They're all living there and it's like heavily guarded.
Oh, yeah. I forgot about that. Yeah. Yeah.
And,
I mean, it seems about right.
All those people are like really sketched out to like give people info about the metamaterials.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, it'd probably be right, man. I mean, have you seen, there's a new movie I watched a couple nights ago, and it's like, you can buy it on Amazon. It's called The 11th Green. Really great, man. Really good, imaginative. It's, you know, it's fiction, but it's based on, you know, Eisenhower's meeting with the aliens and all that stuff. And it's really crazy because they link it with Obama, the Obama administration. It's really nuts. It's like, well, Obama's like laying down on a couch and he has like an iPhone. And he's like, you know, basically doing some like meditation stuff where he's like transcendental meditating, but he's like meeting Eisenhower and they're having like all these conversations, and dude, it's fucking crazy. You know, it's really cool because like all the UFO lore from history is all baked into it, you know, like all this stuff.
Surprised.
I mean, I don't know. I think that there's so much going on that there's bound to be some kind of, you know, and even when people have came out and said, yeah, this is it, you know, like Jesse Marcel and everybody who finally was like, yeah, you know, like the Phenomenon movie, it's amazing, you know, when, you know, James Fox gets all these people, like all these interviews and shit that nobody's seen before. And it's like, this is real. It's happening. And people still don't believe it.
Dude, I feel like it's almost like something's rooted in their subconscious to reject it or like hate it. Like no matter what you tell them, like it's weird.
Do you think
like some people are just like, they will not have it?
No,
you know what I mean? Have you
What's
experienced that?
My wife.
Yeah.
Love her to death. I think and I honestly have to say it's probably rooted out of fear. You know,
that's, dude, honestly, same with my girlfriend.
It's rooted out of fear.
I don't think she's like expressed that she's afraid of like what possibilities are out there, like, or like what's going to come from disclosure. But like, I know she's expressed like fear in space. She's like terrified of like anything that has to do with space. And I think like hearing about Space Force like stresses her out maybe. But yeah, I don't know.